Now, there's something to be said for old school bikes and, shall we say, old school kit. They're timeless, they're classics, they're amazing. Modern stuff, well, I don't think you really need it because, well, look at me.
Yes, look at the state of you.
What?
Look at that.
Specimen.
If you're stuck in the 2000s and the 90s and the 80s, then yeah, that's cool, but something to say about the modern day bike, so stick around and we'll tell you all about why a modern day bike is incredible.
That retro rich guy, well, he was pretty special and he looked a little bit odd, I think we can all agree. So modern bikes, well, they are amazing. And I want to kick things off with modern geometry. Bikes have changed a heck of a lot since old yesteryear. Head angles used to be crazy steep, reaches were really tight, and seat angles were far slacker than they are now. Times have changed, we've moved on, as have the tracks that we ride, which is kind of why bikes have evolved, if you like. Numbers these days are a lot more forgiving. They make up for a much better ride of the bike. So reaches have grown to give us a bit more space to move around in the middle of the bike. Head angles have got slightly slacker. Wheelbase is a bit longer to make them much sturdier. And all of this adds up to make for a much better riding characteristic. As if all that madness wasn't enough, we can actually adjust the geometry of our bikes ourselves now. So a bike might look pretty standard like this and come in this nice sort of form that it's in, but things like flip chips and other adjustability found on bikes means that we can change the characteristics of how our bike rides. Like this, for example, my Reactor's got a trail and rail mode, meaning if I want it to be slightly steeper with a slightly higher bottom bracket, I can stick it in trail. If I want to go rail those turns, well, we put it in rail mode, things slacken, drop the bottom bracket, and we are well on our way to party town. So I talked earlier how head angles and seat tube angles and things like that had changed, but why have they changed? Well, as tracks have got rougher, faster, we climb up steeper things, even gearing things have changed, which we'll get to in a bit. The angles of the bike have needed to change accordingly. So, slacker head angles. Why would you do that? Well, more stability at higher speeds. A steep head angle is really twitchy, and you might still find the steepest of head angles generally on cross-country bikes. So they're a bit twitchier, a bit livelier. Trail bikes, well, they might be in the region of a 64.5, maybe up to a 66, 66.5, and the same with the seat tube angle coming up to about 74 degrees. And what that does, it kind of shifts you forward, so you've got better climbing efficiency on the bike as well.
Updated and new game-changing parts. Yes, the modern day bike comes with some incredible technology to make that ride a little bit easier out there. So let me talk you through some of them. Dropper posts. It is an ultimate upgrade to the modern day bike. It's been around for a couple of years now, but this one right here is 170mm of drop. But why is the dropper post so incredibly good? Well, you can lower that saddle, get it out of the way, and makes the bike way more trail ready, and it fills you with confidence when it comes to super techie trails. I love the dropper post. Cross-country riders are using it now, but their old drops is only this much, just to get that saddle out of the way. Right, the cockpit modernized. Look at this, it's a wider bar. Now you can get 800 plus width bars. Now I'm running a 760, but compared to that 2000 bar, which is like super narrow, the bike is so much twitchier out there on the trail, it's nasty. As the bikes have been upgraded and modernized, the trails have as well. So the demand for a wider bar, a lot more technology in the bike is key. Right, this is the biggest change in modern day bikes. It's this, the drivetrain. Not like the Sky over there, which has got a 3x9 system. That means you've got 3 chain rings on the front, and on the rear you've got 9 gears. Nowadays we run the 1x12, so 1 chain ring and 12 gears here. But look at the wide range of it. This climbing gear here is massive. It's pretty much nearly the same size as my disc. But the cool thing about this is you're probably wondering, oh, your chain's just gonna bounce off like the old stuff. No, you've got a narrow wide chain ring with a narrow wide chain. That basically is like glue and it sticks to this. So no matter what terrain you're riding, it's not gonna bounce off. Chain device, and then you've got this, the derailleur. Look how big this thing is. Obviously it needs to accommodate for the big ones, so you've got a bigger cage, but this has a battery. And I like this because there's no cables. It simplifies things, but it kind of isn't simplified because you've got so much technology between the little shifter up the top and your derailleur here. Brakes, yes, back in the day, some bikes didn't really have the best brakes. Now, hydraulics were coming in to the industry at that point, and they were innovating with hydraulic brakes, which has basically come from the motorsport into mountain biking. Nowadays, they have got incredibly strong. Now, I'm running a 4-pot hydraulic brake on this bike with 200mm rotors, front and rear. So with the size of the brake, that means you can get way more stopping power, it dissipates the heat, but you can get even bigger rotors than this to stop you out there on the trail. And there's so much adjustments you can do. So you've got contact in, contact out, you can adjust your levers and all that rad jazz. It's cool, and it comes in carbon as well. Right, let's talk about suspension. Yes, the Scott was a dual suspension. This one is dual suspension. But the thing that makes this better than the old stuff is that this right here can dissipate the heat better. You can adjust it in multiple directions. You can adjust it to your weight. You can adjust it to what terrain you ride. Some even have a little computer on there to adjust it whilst you're going on the fly. You don't even have to touch it. And on the front, you've got different size stanchions, different lengths of travel, different widths, but you can adjust it to your weight as well. And it can take an absolute pounding. Big game changer is tubeless ready, or just tubeless. So inside is a tubeless sealant which plugs up all the holes inside that tire, so you don't need to stop and put a patch on an inner tube and all of that old school business. But some people still run tubes. I do not know why.
Now, earlier on, I talked about modern geometry, we talked suspension, making bikes better, and they actually can give you more confidence when riding. That guy there could barely even jump before he got that bike. Yes, the beauty of these modern day bikes, especially if you are riding a full suspension one, because I should say hardtails have vastly changed over the years as well, can just sort of give you that boost that you needed. So you might have been looking at this jump or this drop before and you're like, man, that's sketchy on this bike. I think it's gonna snap. I don't think I've got the travel. I can't do it. And you get on your modern bike, you get on your new full sus, it's got the better angles, it's got the better wheels, it's got more travel, and you're like, oh, well, I don't even know what I was worried about. I absolutely sailed off it. And that's something you might not have had before. And it's just that sort of uplifting feel that you get from these kind of new bikes this day. And it can really help push your riding on and give you more confidence.
'26 is dead to the most of us, but to the minority, it still stands. Now, the go-to wheel size nowadays is a 29-inch wheel. Yes, it had a 27.5, but the 29er just smooths out the trail a lot more. And if you're going against the clock, then the 29er is way faster. And like I said, it gives you more contact point to the ground, it gives you more traction, more control. But you've also got the 27.5 and the 29er on the front, the mixed wheel size, just to give you a little bit more clearance over the rear, especially when it gets a bit more steeper. And it's a little bit more playful. But nowadays, it's all about 29-inch wheels. All XC racers and XC riders, they use the 29er because it is faster. But at the end of the day, it's not all about the clock, is it? N+1, no matter what your budget, right? Buying a new bike for the first time, getting it out of the box or getting it from your local bike shop is the best feeling ever.
And you can never have enough, right?
You never.
So you always, and also, tinkering, swapping parts out,
Exactly.
upgrading maybe, just messing about with it, tuning it. You can do that so easily on modern bikes, right?
Exactly, and there's loads of YouTube videos if you want to look at that, technology and all. It's incredible. But talk about the modern bike, right? It's very durable. Now, if you were to buy a very retro kind of bike and you would ride it and you'd brake it, how easy is it to upgrade those parts? Because, you know, industry standards. No, industry standards
difficult.
Have changed. You've got boost, you've got this size, you've got that size. It's actually a minefield.
It is. I tell you what, modern bikes rule. Let us know what you think of modern bikes in the comments down below. Have we missed any points, Blake?
I tell you what you have missed. How many times did we say modern in this video? Modern.
Modern times, many. Right, we're out of here. Thank you for watching, everybody. Until next time,
See ya. Cup of tea?
Cup of tea.
Cup of tea.